What if the most recognizable dishes in Japanese cuisine were not actually Japanese? What if Japan built its most iconic foods from Portuguese missionaries, British naval officers, and Chinese immigrants? Today on Recipe Lab, we are breaking down 10 dishes you had absolutely no idea were invented in Japan, and almost none of them started there. In 10th place, tempura owes its golden crunch not to ancient Japanese kitchens, but to Portuguese missionaries who landed in Nagasaki nearly 5 centuries ago. The original was called peixinhos de horta, green beans dipped in wheat batter and fried for Catholic fasting days, the quatuor tempura. Jesuit letters from the 1580s describe Japanese converts tasting this foreign treat, and the name stuck. But what began as a Lenten snack soon transformed. Japanese cooks swapped olive oil for sesame, lightened the batter with egg and water, and began frying local prawns and vegetables. By the Edo period, tempura was a street stall sensation, its crackle echoing through temple markets. Today, it's a flagship of Japanese cuisine, yet every bite is a reminder that even the classics can be imports, radically reimagined. Number 9. Japanese curry did not come from ancient Kyoto kitchens. It sailed in with the British Royal Navy. The story starts in the late 1800s when British sailors brought tins of curry powder, a colonial shortcut that had already transformed Indian spice blends into something shelf-stable and uniform. The Imperial Japanese Navy, desperate to fight off beriberi, an epidemic caused by vitamin deficiency, adopted this stew as a weekly mess hall staple. Medical officers like Kanehiro Takashi pushed the addition of carrots and potatoes, turning curry into a nutritional lifeline. By 1923, S&B Foods launched the first homegrown curry powder, making the dish as common in Japanese homes as it was in Navy galleys. The result is not Indian, and it is not British. It is a thick, roux-based comfort food, mild, sweet, and unmistakably Japanese. India invented curry, Britain militarized it, Japan industrialized it. That is how a foreign ration became the country's ultimate soul food. In 8th place, ramen's journey starts not in Tokyo back alleys, but in Yokohama's Chinese noodle stalls of the late 1800s. What looks like a Japanese classic is at its root a bowl of shina soba, wheat noodles in broth, sold by immigrants to port workers craving something fast and filling. The real explosion comes after 1945, when United States occupation authorities flood Japan with American wheat, desperate to stave off post-war hunger. SCAP directives turn surplus grain into noodles, and suddenly, ramen shops multiply overnight. But the biggest twist arrives in 1958, when Momofuku Ando invents instant ramen, dehydrated noodles ready in 3 minutes, a patent that changes dinner forever. By 1971, cup noodles make it portable, global, unstoppable. Ramen isn't just a borrowed soup. It's a collision of Chinese street food, American policy, and Japanese invention, boiled down to a national obsession. Number 7. Tonkatsu looks like it's been in Japan forever, but its roots are pure European cutlet. Think schnitzel, but with a Tokyo twist. The first real proof lands on the 1899 menu at Rengate, a Western-style cafe in Ginza, where katsu appears alongside omelets and beef stew. But instead of veal, Japanese cooks switched to pork, a cheaper and more available meat after the Meiji livestock reforms. The result is thick, juicy pork cutlets, breaded and fried to a crisp using panko, those airy breadcrumbs that would later spark an entire subculture of crunch. And while the French and Austrians served their cutlets with lemon, Rengate's chefs went further, blending Worcestershire sauce with fruit and soy to invent the sweet, tangy tonkatsu sauce. By the 1920s, students were lining up for katsu for luck before exams, turning a foreign cutlet into a rite of passage. Western in origin, but unmistakably Japanese in ritual and flavor. Number 6. The California roll did not start in Tokyo's sushi alleys. It was born in Los Angeles, where Japanese chefs faced a problem. American diners kept picking the seaweed off their maki. Ichiro Mashita, working at a little Tokyo sushi bar in the late 1960s, flipped the script literally by rolling the rice on the outside and hiding the nori inside. But the real twist came when tuna supplies ran low. Avocado, creamy, and local, took its place. Imitation crab and cucumber rounded it out, creating a roll that looked familiar but tasted like California. Flyers from the era advertised inside-out sushi with avocado. By the 1980s, the roll made its way back to Tokyo as an exotic import. With Japan importing its own cuisine with a West Coast accent, it was a diaspora invention, re-imported as a Japanese icon. If Japan is surprising you as much as it surprises us, subscribe to Recipe Lab right now. Every dish has a story, and we find them all. Number 5. Teriyaki sauce might sound like it comes straight from a Tokyo grill, but the sticky, sweet, bottled version that coats chicken skewers across America was actually born in post-war Hawaii. The original Japanese teriyaki referred to a cooking method, glazing fish or chicken with a simple mixture of soy sauce and mirin, then broiling for shine. But in 1953, Honolulu's Hawaii Food Products began bottling a new kind of teriyaki, thickened with brown sugar and pineapple juice, designed for GIS, craving a taste of home that lasted on the shelf. By the late 1950s, U.S. military commissaries were stocking gallons of the stuff for bases across the Pacific. Then came Yoshida Foods in 1975, bottling a corn syrup glossed version in Portland and shipping it nationwide. Only after this American reinvention did Japanese companies start selling teriyaki sauce as a bottled product back home. So the next time you reach for that glossy glaze, remember, it's a Hawaiian American export, reverse imported into Japan and sweetened for a global palate. Number 4. Castella looks like a Nagasaki souvenir, but its roots run straight to 16th century Portugal. Jesuit missionaries called it pão de Castella, bread of Castile, and brought the recipe to Japan's only open port. By 1624, the Fukusaya bakery was recording Castella sales in ledgers that still survive, making it one of the oldest documented commercial sweets in Japan. Unlike other imports that faded or mutated, Castella held its shape across centuries. Nagasaki bakers swapped out rye for wheat, added honey for a richer crumb, and settled on the signature rectangular mold, baked in wood. Even matcha and brown sugar versions appeared, but the core sponge of eggs, flour, and sugar remained untouched. This is preservation, not reinvention. A foreign cake, carefully maintained by generations of bakers, outlasted the Portuguese traders who first carried it east. 400 years later, Castella is still sliced, boxed, and shipped from the same city, a living relic of cross-cultural continuity. Coming to the top 3, Wagyu beef's story is not just about pampered cattle and luxury price tags. It is a tale of genetic engineering, global policy, and a branding strategy sharper than any chef's knife. In the mid-1970s, the Japanese Ministry of Agriculture quietly approved the export of Wagyu embryos to the United States and Australia, not live cattle, but microscopic genetic blueprints. The goal was to showcase Japanese livestock science while keeping disease risk low. By 1984, geneticists had isolated the myosin heavy chain gene, the secret behind that legendary marbling, fine webs of intramuscular fat that melt at body temperature. In 1995, the Japanese Meat Grading Association codified the beef marbling score, abbreviated BMS, setting a gold standard for what counts as true Wagyu. Then in 1999, Kobe beef earned a geographical indication label, locking down its name like Champagne or Parma ham. Today, every slice of Wagyu is the result of centuries-old breeding, turbocharged by modern embryo technology, and protected by some of the world's strictest food branding laws. It is not just beef, it is a precision-engineered status symbol, exported and then re-imported until the world forgot it ever had a passport. Number 2. Panko breadcrumbs did not start in a bakery, they were engineered in a military lab. In 1943, as Japan's armies marched through Asia, Army research and development teams filed a patent for an electric bread drying unit. The schematics called for crustless loaves, baked not by flame but by running current through the dough, yielding a bread so airy it could be shredded into crisp, jagged flakes. The goal was not gourmet. It was to keep field rations dry, light, and shelf-stable. But when the war ended, this bread tech did not vanish with the uniforms. In 1947, Nissin adapted the patent for civilian use, launching factory lines that churned out panko by the ton. The secret was that those big, flaky crumbs absorb less oil than any old-fashioned crumb, making fried foods shatteringly crisp instead of greasy. By the 1990s, panko exports soared. Chefs in Paris and New York demanded the Japanese crumb for tempura, fried chicken, even mac and cheese. A war-born bread machine, now the gold standard for crunch worldwide. Sometimes culinary revolutions are sparked not by chefs, but by engineers with a schematic and a problem to solve. And finally, in first place, Japanese whiskey owes its existence to a single, determined apprentice on the other side of the world. In 1918, Masataka Taketsuru left Hiroshima for Glasgow, notebook in hand and a mission in mind, to learn the secrets of Scotland's legendary spirit. For 3 years, he studied pot still design, malt kilning, and the chemistry of peat smoke, filling his Glasgow journals with diagrams and formulas. When he returned to Japan, Taketsuru brought more than just technical know-how. He carried an entire philosophy of patience, climate, and craft. In 1923, he helped launch Yamazaki, Japan's first whiskey distillery, and a decade later founded Nikka in the cold northern reaches of Hokkaido, where the climate echoed the Scottish Highlands. But the transformation didn't end with imitation. Japanese distillers swapped in local barley, experimented with soft mountain water, and let the cool, humid air of their warehouses coax out flavors the Scots had never tasted. The payoff came in 2015, when Yamazaki's 12-year single malt stunned the world by winning top honors at the World Whiskies Awards, outscoring the best from Scotland itself. What started as a technical transfer became a global standard-bearer. Japanese whiskey isn't just a copy. It's the story of one man's journey, a nation's adaptation, and a spirit reborn on new soil. Across all 10 dishes, one pattern stands out. Japan doesn't just borrow recipes, it reinvents them. Each iconic food began as a foreign idea, but became unmistakably Japanese through radical transformation. Authenticity here means constant adaptation. Which dish's hidden history surprised you most? Let us know in the comments.